Good morning. Buenos dias. Welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Church of San Antonio. That's where we are for this wonderful concert worship service here. Remember, worship means to consider matters of worth, and we are going to find out a lot about matters of worth that music brings today from our dear William Westney. So whether you're with us online or physically present, we're pleased you are here. And if you're new to us or visiting for the first time, we welcome you to fill out a yellow visitor's card, either on paper or online. We'd like to get to know you and follow up with you. Wherever you are in your life's journey, we hope you will find your place here with us. Now, this is a welcoming place, and we hope you'll get to know people and let people get to know you. So to support the process, I invite you to take a moment now, turn to people near and around you, and exchange greetings.
Good morning. Good morning. How's the sound? Is that okay? Yes. I'm Bill Westney, and I'm very happy to see you all here. I'm also very happy to say I've been a Unitarian Universalist for well over 35 years. Yeah. It was the answer for me and for my family after a search. And so now that we're in pledge season, it's very important, of course, for us all to support the church and help it thrive through our pledges for the year to come. The opening words are from the legendary modern dance choreographer Martha Graham. And she's talking about self-expression. She's talking about trusting what's inside of each person and being able to express whatever that is freely. And she says, there is a vitality, a life force, an energy, a quickening that is translated through you into action. And because there is only one of you in all time, that expression is unique. And if you block it, it will never exist through any other medium and will be lost. It is not your business to determine how good it is, nor how valuable, nor how it compares to other expressions. It is your business to keep it yours clearly and directly, to keep the channel open. We'll now have the chalice lighting, and while that's being done, I'm going to read words from Marjorie Montgomery. Life is a gift for which we are grateful. We gather in community to celebrate the glories and the mysteries of this great gift.
It's time to share our joys and sorrows, and so we invite everyone to come down the side aisles, light a candle, and return to your seat up the center aisle. Let's savor this moment of remembrance and intention while Bill plays meditation music for us. Thank you, Bill. Thank you all for doing something special. May grace and good be with all of our spring break travelers, especially a trip to France for Warren High School. Doesn't that sound like fun? For joy and steadfastness in the hearts of all who are working to create a more just and healthy world. We certainly need everyone to do their part. The Bensons had some celebrations this week. On March the 8th, Eric turned 50, and Tammy and Eric celebrated 21 years of hand fasting. That joined them together in the old Irish tradition. March 11th, Marley turns 15, and Atticus turns 9 on March 13th, and Eric and Tammy celebrate 19 years of marriage? All right. Go, go, Bensons. One of our members writes, in celebration of my mom's 90 years of life, she was well remembered yesterday at her funeral service. May she rest in peace. And finally, thankful for all the gifts our congregation generously shares, especially today with glorious music. Take a deep breath and let it go. The Spirit of life is with us and in us. May we be of service in our lives, in our community, and in our world. May it be so. Children, hi. We're going to sing you outside to enjoy this beautiful day and play together. Everybody ready? May the road you travel guide you safely. May the hand be always at your side. May the love you find here in this moment guide your way and fill you with delight. En español, que sea seguro tu camino, que un amigo esté siempre a tu lado, que el amor que sientes este momento te guíe, te llena de placer.
As you can see, the message today is in two parts. And before I start in, though, I do want to extend my thanks to Mark for his very kind invitation to me to put together a service like this. It means a lot to me, and it's great fun for me to do and to share it. So thank you so much, Mark, for that. And I also want to take this moment to invite everyone to a special event that's coming up next month. This will be another time when the piano will be moved to this position in the middle of the stage, because I'm going to be doing a fundraising concert, a full recital with some informal sort of commentary about the pieces. It's on Sunday afternoon, April 14th. This is sponsored by the Retired Women's Group here at the church. It's a fundraising concert for the capital campaign. So, yeah. So I hope everyone can come. I've put together what I believe is an entertaining program of music, lots of variety and things I love to play. So, and it's an extraordinary circumstance to have a 9-foot Steinway in a church. anywhere. It's just an incredible artifact, a beautiful instrument. So it's great to celebrate it in this way by doing a full concert. I've been trying to get my hands on it since I joined the church a while back. So in this first part, it's kind of an overview of the topic and then some personal comments. So why music? Why would music possibly be a meaty or a legitimate topic for a service like this for us as Unitarians? Well, a couple of things come to my mind. If there's anything that defines us, we're looking for meaning in all its forms. And I think we all know that includes meaning of a kind that is nonverbal. Not just words and concepts, they are great, they are essential, but other kinds of meaning through experience. And when it's through experience, it also means it's something that's very natural for us to share. And we think a lot about what it means to be a community here. So to share experiences has meaning. And when we talk about direct experience as a source of meaning, this is very much the province of the arts, all the arts. The famous modern dancer of former century, Isadora Duncan, was famous for saying, "If I could say it, I wouldn't have to dance it." The quote that is our topic for today from Hans Christian Andersen is one of the most famous: "Where words fail, music speaks." Many, many philosophers and writers have said the same thing in different ways, have tried to address this, the uncanny eloquence of music to the human condition, its centrality, the centrality of music to who we are. Hard to talk about, but many have tried. As UUs, we also celebrate and pay attention to awe, wonder. We think that's an important clue as to what life is about. Experiences that transport us in some way. And music is famous for having the ability to do this. And the way it does it is sort of primarily physical. Philosopher Nietzsche has said, we listen to music with our muscles. I read recently in one of the books we read in the reading group that Charles Darwin, very scientifically minded, didn't think he had much of an ear for music, but he responded to hearing a great pipe organ in the cathedral by saying, I was getting chills and shivers, and that's how I understood the beauty of it. And in my work with students over the years, in my workshops, I would often ask people to report to me, how do you know something, a performance, crosses the line and becomes not just an everyday performance, but something special, something memorable, something that tells you this is what music can really be. How do you know it when it happens? And if I can get them to trust me enough to just speak freely, they'll say, I had a tear in my eye, I had a shiver in my spine, I got goosebumps, I felt squishy inside, I felt like I was floating through the air. So it's physical symptoms that they report to me, and they are right. We weren't taught to speak this way in the academic world as music majors, but this is what it is all about, and we trust that. This is called embodied cognition. It's a kind of philosophical idea. Luckily and happily, it's gained much more legitimacy recently in philosophical terms. We credit it and say there's things we only know through the participation of the body, using our body as an instrument of knowing. And finally, one other general comment I wanted to make for us as Unitarians, I think we're very interested in the mind, in the possibilities of the mind, maybe the limitations of the mind, but what about our minds? And one of the things I like to ask people is, think of Albert Einstein and think of Sherlock Holmes. What do these two smart guys have in common? I mean, I know one of them is not a real person, but let's put that aside. Albert Einstein, Sherlock Holmes, what do they have in common? Well, the answer I'm fishing for is, thank you, whenever each one of them was stuck with a problem-solving moment, they would play the violin. Pick up the violin and practice for a while and play. And Einstein's son reports that, whenever he was stuck, he would pick up his violin and play probably Bach, And after a while, he would see his way clear to solve the problem. And we've all read the Sherlock Holmes stories where Dr. Watson is trudging up the stairs and he hears Sherlock sawing away. He says, he's about to reach the solution. What does this mean? Well, I think it's probably the structure of the music has something enlightening about it that organizes our mind. Music is very organizing in the brain, in the body. And also, I think it's the act of doing it. It's both sides of your body are involved. It's a bicameral action. Your brain is firing. Anyway, music has something to do even with thinking on that level. Okay, so now it's a little more personal stuff. Music, the meaning of music is something I've been really fascinated with, exploring. I think I've been in love with this idea since I was a kid. And when I think of it, I always think of it as a kind of a penetrating meaning. It penetrates ourselves and our whole selves. And when I'm in this whole talk today, when I'm talking about music, I'm really not talking about entertainment music, or music for dancing and things like that. I love music for entertainment. We'd be nowhere without it. It's a fantastic thing in life. But I really want to focus on music that's trying to utter something, music that's trying to say something in another way. Writers have struggled to explain this for a long time, and they have a hard time doing this. But this is not a drawback, because it's a phenomenon. Music is nothing but vibration. So if I play a note, it sets up a pattern, a vibrational pattern. It's in the air, reaches our eardrums. Our brains interpret that in some way, and it means something to us. It's kind of miraculous. I think there was a Twilight Zone episode years ago where some aliens came to Earth and they said, what are they doing? I mean, they couldn't understand it, that somebody over here would do something and set up a vibrational pattern by singing or playing, and the vibrations in the air. And then people on the other side of the room would receive these vibrations, and they'd start crying, and they'd start hugging each other, and they'd start dancing and doing all these crazy things because of vibrations in the air. Like, what's going on with these human beings? It's very, very strange. But we know it, and we get it. So, a couple of things about my, as they say, journey. Two highlights I want to mention. One is the very beginning. When I was a toddler, it was clear that I could sing on key and that I, kind of had music in me. And I ended up, luckily, in a toddler music class. It's called Dalcroze Eurythmics. And this is a genius kind of method that originated in Europe where little kids, or anyone, learn music through participation of your whole body, not by sitting still and trying to play an instrument, but you dance, you move around, you let yourself respond without even thinking about it. You're open to everything. So what I remember about this is the joy of it, the thrill of it, how exhilarating it was to respond to music. They set up a lot of challenging games to see if you can, respond quickly to the musical changes and all this kind of stuff. It was so exciting. This is great for 3-year-olds who are open to the world just in that way. But I began to understand how much it means to have music flow through your whole system. And then the other experience, which was a key moment in my life, was now I'm in college, and I decided to try to become a professional musician. And I was just starting to have a really serious, good piano teacher. And so I was 18 years old, and I had won what they call the concerto competition, meaning I had the chance to play as a soloist with the symphony orchestra in a formal concert. I'd never done this before, scared to death. 1,500 people in the audience. But towards the end of the concert, I settled into things, and I began to feel like I belonged there a little bit. And I was coming to the cadenza of the Rimsky-Korsakov concerto. And so it's a cadenza, meaning the orchestra is silent for a while I just play the solo part, then they'll come back in. So this was my favorite part. I loved this part of the music. It's very warm-hearted. I felt like I knew what it expressed, and I loved to play it. I looked forward to that passage. But something happened. I had never read about this before or thought about it, so I think it was kind of a pure experience. As I was playing my favorite passage, I could feel palpably the attention of all the people. It's like something you could touch. But more than that, like they were informing me of what this music means in a way I never had thought about before. I thought I knew exactly what it meant. But now that everyone was with me in this unspoken way, but they were there tangibly, it shaped the music in a different way and gave it depths of meaning I never knew were there. I thought of it later as a circuit of meaning that we were finding through the music together in this moment. And I thought, this is the most intoxicating, amazing thing. If I can be in a line of work where I can do this again, that's something I'd like to try to do. And that made me decide to try to become a concert pianist. So through these formative experiences, I think I began to understand there's kind of maybe two ways you can define musical experience. One is the thing we have inside. What does it mean to each one of us inside when we hear music that affects us? What do we grok inside? That's our private experience from listening to it or playing it, singing it. The other level is what happens when we share it, when it's performed, when it's a communal thing, like I stumbled upon in that concerto moment. So with those two levels in mind, let me offer in this first part, I'll end this with something, a musical example, which I'll play and talk about a little bit. And while I'm doing this, I will be aware of the things I just spoke of. I'll be aware of how I'm feeling about it, which will be different today than any other day. I know the piece well, but every time you play it, it's a new experience. And it'll be also different because you are all here, so that affects it. So this is Chopin Prelude in E minor. And it's a short piece and famous one. Now, the materials of it are very simple. It's just a melody and then some pulsating chords. It's a slow piece, and it's rather melancholy, I would say. So the melody... It's hardly a melody at all. It's just the simplest thing. But the left hand has the chords, and the chords, the harmonies, are where the humanity is. And so the point I want to make as I do this, it's not one thing, it's not one feeling, it's not one state, it's constantly shifting. And the great philosophers that I love that talk about this focus on this, the fact that it's changing constantly all the time. And I want to make the point about this piece before I play a little more, like, yes, it seems to be about sadness. We might think that sadness is not a good thing. No one wants to be sad. But in art, we can focus on it. We can explore it. We can say, it's part of us as a human being. I'm going to explore this. I'm going to even savor it. And I'm going to find something beautiful in it. So with that in mind, let's see the nuances of sadness that we may be hearing. Interestingly, the second time we do the melody, he's altered the chords, so we have a different journey through this. So I wonder if this exploration of our emotions is almost like the spiritual significance of this kind of art.
Bless my little melancholy Polish heart. The music of Frédéric Chopin flows in my veins, Bill. Thank you. Today's offering is for the programs and ministries of this church. For those of you viewing online, we invite you to donate on our website through the QR code, and for those of us in the sanctuary, you may contribute via the QR code or in the baskets. I invite the ushers to come forward and collect the music, collect the offering, and while Bill plays some beautiful music. We bless these gifts as we bless the givers. May it be so. Thank you, ushers. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Mark. Now, so in the second part of this, I'm going to delve a little bit more philosophically into the topic. So, three kinds of meaning we can find in music. I've already talked about the body, through the body. And two other characteristics of musical meaning that are fascinating and very key. It's a flowing kind of meaning. It's not true over here like in one way, but the meaning changes as it flows through time. And secondly, it's ambiguous. Music can capture a kind of ambiguity words can never do, and a lot of other things can never do. You probably heard it in that tango I just played. Who can say what the mood is of that piece? It touches everything, and it's bittersweet and whatever that is. We all get it. What's so beautiful about this is that we understand it completely without any training. We know exactly what that is as human beings. So let me focus a little bit more on the flowing part of it. Of course, musical content has a lot to do with feeling, the life of feeling. It's not this feeling or that. It's a lot more nuanced, as I've been showing you. I think of it as kind of like a flowing river. It's what they call a play of contents. It's not it has this content, but a play of contents. Right now in this room, each one of us might be feeling different things. You might be feeling a little bit wistful, a little bit contented, a little bit anxious, or who knows what mixture of feelings a person has. And then in 5 minutes, you might have a different mixture of feelings. That's just the way we are. Buddhist writer Steve Hagen mentions music. He's talking about flow in the spiritual context, and I like this. He uses the analogy you might be familiar with of the cork and the stream. Like if you have the traditional Western sense of separateness as a person. I'm a person out in the world is doing crazy stuff, and I'm here wondering what to make of all that. That would be like you're the cork flowing down the stream. But he says, and in that view, he says everything would change except the cork. The fact is, however, there are no corks in the stream. There's only stream. What we think of as the cork is also the stream. The person is also the stream. Music, after all, is a type of stream. It exists not as a particular thing, but as pure coming and going with no thing that comes and goes. Thus, when we listen to music or we play it, we can simply sort of submit to the flow of it. And that's what I like to feel when I play music. Maybe that has spiritual importance. I don't know. One writer I came across talks about when you're performing music meaningfully, he puts it like this: at the intersection between control and surrender, the musician gives herself up, allowing herself to be played by the universe. So that's the flowing part. Let's look at the ambiguity aspect of this. Putting together a service like this, the first composer one would probably turn to is Johannes Brahms. Brahms wrote romantic music that is full of very subtle and very honest, I think, emotional content. Like, it's almost embarrassingly real. He's like confessing how he feels. So this is part of a late piece of Brahms. I just want to do part of it with you and talk about it. It's called Intermezzo. It's Opus 119, number 1. I love these titles like this: Intermezzo, Prelude. They're completely meaningless. It's just a placeholder. Intermezzo just means a short piece, whatever. You have to call it something. But that's the beauty of it. It's like, I'm not going to tell you what the content is. I'm not going to say a word about it. It's whatever it fabricates in your mind. So this is an interesting piece because even though it's in the tonal system, you can't tell what key you're in. if you ask me, what is the mood of that piece? I couldn't tell you. I don't know. It's some kind of daydreaming, beautiful thing. I can't tell you. But it's about to come to a part that is more comforting because now we're deeper in the piano, major chords. So Brahms is sort of taking us through this journey of slightly doubtful or disturbing emotions, and now we have a reassuring thing. Will it last? I don't know. So it's like a surge of emotion came over us. Well, that happens to us. We know what this feels like. So, so one of the philosophers I love, Susanne Langer, says the real power of music lies in the fact that it can be true to the life of feeling in a way that language cannot. Because its musical forms have the ambivalence of content that words can never have. There's nothing mysterious about that piece. You don't need any musical training to understand it 100%. It's just how we feel. And it's different for each person. So now we're going to queue up a couple of videos to show very quickly before we round this out. I'm moving to a tricky point, which I'm tackling anyway, no matter how tricky it is, which is if music has meaning, as I'm claiming, is there any information in this meaning, or is it just a lot of feeling? Well, there are some people that say that it does. And the two of them I'm going to offer you are actually composers. Let me put it this way. Someone has said this about Beethoven. And so one of my favorite writers about music is Aldous Huxley, the genius essayist and novelist and thinker. He wrote an essay called Music at Night in 1931. And he sets the stage for this by making this claim. Huxley. Music says things about the world, but in specifically musical terms. Any attempt to reproduce these musical statements in our own words is necessarily doomed to failure. We can't isolate the truth contained in a piece of music because it's a beauty truth, and the beauty of it is the truth of it. And then he goes on to talk about Beethoven's great, huge piece called the Missa Solemnis. It's a setting of the Mass for orchestra and choruses and soloists, and it's very long and it's very grand. And there's a part of it called the Benedictus. Benedictus in the Mass has to do with blessedness. So, Huxley. Thus, the introduction, this is a part of, in the Benedictus, there's a striking moment when, in spite of all this big texture, suddenly the solo violin emerges and plays something kind of high. And everyone knows this moment. And he says, thus, in the introduction to the Benedictus in the Missa Solemnis is a statement about the blessedness that is at the heart of things. But that's as far as words can take us. Only music, and only Beethoven's music, and only this particular piece of Beethoven can tell us with any precision what Beethoven's conception of the blessedness at the heart of things actually was. If we want to know, we just listen. I'm so proud of Aldous Huxley that he was bold enough to say with any precision, he thinks it's telling us something of a precise nature about what Beethoven thought blessedness was about. So that's video number 1. It's hard to say what blessedness might be. Maybe that's a way to say it. And the other one I want to offer you on this type is Tchaikovsky, great romantic composer. He had a patroness who supported him all his professional life. They never met in person, but they had a correspondence. And she said at one point, well, my dear, you can't possibly be claiming that music can, mean something besides just the way we feel or something like that. It can't have any other sort of real meaning about content. He says, well, I don't think you're right. Because if we think about love, for example, what's love like? What does it feel like? The power of love, the torment of love. What's the nature of that in our lives? I think only music can really say something about it. So now we're going to hear the love theme from Tchaikovsky's Romeo and Juliet. Yeah. I know. So, speaking of love, I do think that love has a lot to do with the meaning of music, too. We talk about playing from the heart and the whole wordless expression of feeling, the mutuality of it, this depth of feeling is a lot like love. As you may know, I wrote a book last year, and it's called Eros at the Piano, The Life Energy of Classical Music, and I use Eros, the god of love, as my theme. In this context, it's a lot bigger meaning than what we normally think of with Eros, like, love and the erotic. Because for the Greeks, Eros was all of human connection, relatedness, our creativity, and all the ways of knowing that are flowing and nonverbal and so on. All of that is what music is. And in fact, philosophically, you have logos and eros. Logos is the word and reason. That's an important realm of knowledge. Eros, erotic knowledge, is all the other stuff we've been talking about today. Things we know physically and in a way that can never be spoken. So with all this in mind, and as a way to wrap up everything I've been saying, I'm going to look to Aldous Huxley again. This is a quote from his novel called Eyeless in Gaza. The main character in this book is a brilliant person who's also very tormented, unhappy, seeking a sense of who am I and a sense of meaning and connection in life. And towards the end of the book, he talks about trying to progress, and this is the quote, to progress step by step towards a consummation where there is no more discourse, only experience, only unmediated knowledge, as of a color, a perfume, a musical sound. Step by step toward the experience of being no longer wholly separate, but united at the depths with other lives, with the rest of being, united in peace, end quote. May it be so.
Testing. Before I get to sound the benediction, which we now have a little more meaning for, as that high sound of the violin wafting through our lives, blessing us so at our core, I have some announcements. For those who would like, please gather outside after the service and follow me to the Capital Campaign ribbon cutting. Yes. Yet please stay here for the conclusion of this service to thank Bill for this amazing message. Another announcement is that at 12:15 in Fellowship Hall, our Green Sanctuary team is hosting a Planetary Health Fund Lunch. And also at 12:15, Donna Pereira, our membership chair, is presenting a class for those who would like to learn more about our living tradition of Unitarian Universalism and how it's practiced in our church. This will be in room 603. And so, let us extinguish this flame. Yet not the light of truth, nor the feelings that we have, which are expressions of love, nor the fire of our commitment. These go on with us, and on and on. And now we conclude with one of Chopin's most beautiful pieces and one of the shortest, only 16 measures long. Thank you.